Dia de los Muertos is a tradition which originated after La Conquista and is celebrated throughout Mexico and Latin America. It serves as a means for families to please and honor their ancestors by creating altars and offerings, including the deceased loved one's portraits, possessions, favorite foods, candles, and cempasúchil flowers, among other things. But before this tradition began, how did the ancient Mesoamerican people venerate the dead? We begin our journey of understanding by first defining what funerary urns, interchangeably referred to as effigy vessels, are. Typically, the vessels showcase a human representation which can either be male or female, and always possess these 5 attributes with variation: a headdress, a pectoral, a mask, an object being held, and a calendric name taken from the 260-day calendar. These vessels were donned the name funerary urn because they held a prominent presence in tombs. Within the tombs, the vessels are usually found in the antechamber, the tomb itself, the niche above the tomb, or on the floor outside the antechamber. The urns have been found both individually and arranged in groups. When found in groups, the urns are typically made from similar material and tend to look alike. Despite the funerary connotations, the Zapotec funerary urns are not cremation urns, as commonly misconstrued. The urns, if not empty, contain offerings for the deceased, including obsidian knives, greenstone beads, shells, or animal bones, never human remains. Here is Goddess 13 Serpent, a funerary urn found in Tomb 109, Monte Alban, by Alfonso Caso during his 1937 expedition. Visually, Goddess 13 Serpent is a 25-centimeter clay sculpture with red pigmentation and shell eyes. There exists disproportionality ranging from the cosijo headdress to the feet, resulting in the sculpture's body resembling that of a child, lacking any signs of maturity such as muscles or curves. However, the contours and line details enveloping the pose, facial expression, garment, and headdress are well defined and in high relief. After dating, the Goddess 13 Serpent appears to fall somewhere along 200 to 350 AD, during the Tawny phase of Oaxacan chronology. Regardless, after inspection, the question still remains: what was the purpose behind the funerary urns? The most accepted hypotheses focus on the ancestral worship around Zapotec religion. Ancestors, especially of royal descent, were thought to have ascended to a position between the world of man and the world of the supernatural after death. This new position allowed their ancestors to intercede on behalf of the Zapotecan community. Because of their relevance, the ancestors were commemorated and their images are found in temples and homes. The urns are thought to serve as offerings to their ancestors or gods. But still, who do these human effigies represent? There are 2 theories. The first theory is that the urns represent anthropomorphic deities. One of the most common deities thought to be represented is that of Cosijo, as shown on Goddess 13 Serpent, a powerful Zapotec goddess associated with lightning. Cosijo's attributes are most commonly the usage of glyph C, shown on Goddess 13 Serpent, the bifid tongue of a snake, fangs, or a mask surrounding the eyes, nose, and mouth of the goddess. The godly identity of the urns is historically tied to the Spaniards, who did not understand ancestor worship and therefore perceived the urns to be depictions of gods. The second theory is that the urns represent human ancestors. The reasoning behind this theory focuses on 3 main points. The strongest point critiques the deity theory, because to assume that the urns represent anthropomorphic gods would be to assume that Zapotec worshipped such gods in the first place, when little evidence has been found of that. The second point relates to former, in a sense that the urns always depict a calendrical name, yet such names have been continuously reserved for humans, and there has been no compelling evidence that Zapotec gods also bear names from the 260-day calendar. The third point states that the urns' names vary from each other in both time period and archaeological site. Such a variance would be unlikely if those urns truly represented established deities, but would be expected if the urns were deceased ancestors of the tomb occupants, simply attributing characteristics or wearing masks of their esteemed deity. In all cases, the funerary urns serve as a means for us to study the relationships and belief systems of the Zapotec people. Presently, Goddess 13 Serpent resides in the National Anthropology Museum in Mexico City, Mexico, and is thought to be a woman of unknown descent who was bestowed with a cosijo headdress. Other funerary urns may be found in museums spanning Mexico, Europe, and the United States.